All right, we're back at it. Yes, I'm doing this a day early this week because that's how it's just got to be. Are you going to be committed and trust the process? There's a lot of, it's funny how that we're in the middle of this thing with cancer and all that stuff, and so not that I didn't already know that there's a ton of things in the Bible about patience and faith and trusting God's timing, and just because really you don't need something as dramatic as cancer to make you aware that you need to do that. So it's just like when you think about it more often, you realize there's even more than you thought there was. So, having said that, we're a day early, and we're going to talk about some stuff from Matthew 13. Right now, we're going to do this bench press. The last couple weeks, we've been having fun, but still getting some quality reps. And, 2 weeks ago, I flipped back in my book to, see what I did, basing my, everything on that. And I forgot 2 weeks ago, it was about thinking and the thought process. And so we did everything in kilograms. So, of course, I had to rethink and recalculate to remember if I add some weight this week, what is it supposed to be based on what I did, because I wrote it in kilograms 2 weeks ago. And then last week we did 10 reps, and because it was like 17 degrees in here. Now it's like 45. It's a balmy, warm morning over here. So, all right, this is 250. Let's see if we can get 3 to 5 quality reps, few sets, talk about some stuff out of Matthew 13 today. I don't know if you could tell from over there, but that last one went up a little crooked. So I got to work on that. It's funny how I can feel normal until you start kind of looking at the bar and you realize things aren't quite perfect. Started right, ended right. That's the good part. It didn't end up on the floor or something. All right, so Matthew 13. You got Jesus going through a series of short little parables. The kingdom of heaven is like. The kingdom of heaven is like. The kingdom of heaven is like. And I think he does 3 or 4 right there. I just read it last night. But the big one that the disciples, it's funny because the disciples would go to Jesus all the time. And they would say things like, what does that mean? And more than one occasion, Jesus would tell them, well, I'm telling you. And then explain why he talks to everyone else in parables. There's, here he's talking about just how the secret, sort of the mysteries of God are, they're in plain sight, and yet they're still mysteries that are hard for a lot of people to understand. And I think when he was maybe in the parable of the sower, he's more bluntly was just like so that they'll hear but not understand, see but not perceive. But in this one, it's another sowing farmer one, but this time it's about a guy who goes out, sows his crops, and realizes that there's stuff growing that he didn't plant among what he did plant. And I want to say in this one, it's where Jesus says basically the enemy came at night and threw this garbage out there in the field. So the wheat and the weeds, they're growing up together. And, I've mentioned this before. There's certain things that will grow. In fact, I taught the youth this a month or so ago. I notice this in landscaping all the time with my real job. You'll be trimming bushes or working in somebody's yard, and until that thing that's not supposed to be there outpaces the growth of the thing that is supposed to be there, sometimes you can't tell it's in there. I mean, they have green leaves just like the good bush has green leaves, just like the sprout of a tree or the vine or the whatever it is that's growing, and it's really hard to tell that it's in there because you got nice, thick, healthy bushes that kind of hide what's going on inside of them sometimes. So, same kind of thing. Here's this crop, and it's growing good, and the weeds are growing good, and they're both green, right? And they're both growing. And then all of a sudden, they start developing some key features, and you realize, and the farmer's servants, they're like, well, let's just go tear all those weeds out of there. We can't have that. It's like, well, the problem of doing that is you're going to ruin the good crop, is what the farmer says. So we'll just have to let them grow together at this point. And that's sort of the process that reminds me, okay, Jesus is saying, let's not lose the context here, the kingdom of heaven. And so he's comparing his people are in the world living alongside Satan's people. And he's pretty straightforward about that. And this process has to finish, or it's going to disrupt everything. And God has a time and a purpose and a plan, just like we talked about the other day or yesterday, Ecclesiastes. This plan and this purpose for everything. And so you want to not disrupt that by taking I guess the knee-jerk reaction would be, oh man, we got to do something. But at the same time, it's part of God's plan and God's purpose. And maybe if nothing else, we always say, things are for, God's glory and for our good. So when you look at it through that lens, then you can start understanding, at least to a certain degree, why things are the way they are. So in the big kingdom of heaven picture, that's what's going on. And so when, of course, the end of the age, I love that phrase in the Bible, the end of the age, sounds like something from Lord of the Rings. So, end of the age, you harvest everything. Then you separate the wheat from the weeds, the sheep from the goats, all these metaphors that Jesus uses. Because it's very clear in his mind that when you look around, everybody's not the same. Some of these are his people in this world, and some of the people in this world are the devil's people. And a lot of people don't like to look at it that way, but that's the way the Bible describes it. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Because, if I'm going to err on one side or the other, it's going to be on what the Bible says, not what the world thinks or says, or even what the churches and other Christians say. If the Bible says it a certain way, that's the way we'll say it. So let's try to do 5 more. That first set was a little ragged, so we'll see. That one was actually better. So I'm happy. And when I was younger, I don't know, this is probably a mental thing. I would just do a set and just somehow automatically think the next set was going to be worse or harder because, you're putting a strain and stress on your muscles. So obviously at some point they will fatigue and wear out. But at the same time, that doesn't mean your second or third set or fourth or fifth, if you do like a 5x5, that doesn't mean that because your first set sucked, that the rest of them are going to suck too, or maybe you won't even be able to do the last one because the first one was so bad. It's like there's literally not much of a connection at all there. It's all in your mechanics and your setup and your focus, and if something gets off, you have time to correct it in between sets. So back to the Bible. So the point is, whether it's in the kingdom of heaven sense, big picture, or whether it's in this little microcosm of your own life, God has a plan, God has a purpose. And we are running around like those servants all the time thinking, oh my God, we got to do something. Oh man, what are we going to do about this? Oh no. Oh, freaking out. Freak out and throw up our hands and oh my God, people love to do that. It's funny to me. It's like, did that make anything better? No. And when you're done wasting time doing all of that, guess what? Oh, you still have that problem to deal with. So let's not do that. But really, seriously, the farmer, who in this parable represents God, was like, don't worry about it. I got the plan. I know what we're going to do. Trust me. This is how it's going to work. And, if you want to just get really deep into this on one side of, taking it kind of literally, if you're these servants and you're waiting for harvest time, I don't know about their culture and climate, but around here, that's when the weather starts to cool off, right? So I think when you're harvesting like they're doing, you're separating, because it says he takes the weeds and burns them in the fire. So man, I'll bet that felt good, It's been working hard all day and the sun's going down, it's starting to get cold, and now we got some fuel to make this little bonfire over here so we can, relax for a minute at the end of the day. I'm just adding something to the story, but it's just a thought that there's these unintended things that happen that you don't even think about when you're trusting God's timing and God's process. Just do it, man. I don't know how else to say it. Just do it. I'm here benching on an odd day. Why? Because that's part of the process. We're leaving so early tomorrow to go for the next round of chemo that I got to get in here and do this now, because then if we get back in time tomorrow night, it's youth group. So I couldn't come out here then. It's look at the week, see what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, man. No excuses. That's my biggest pet peeve with people is excuses. I said it before, I'll say it again. Two kinds of people make excuses: losers and failures. Be a grown-up and figure it out. So I got a set and, some other cool stuff to do this morning. I need to get on it because that means today I got to work so I can set my guys up to not get overwhelmed tomorrow while I'm not here. So go out and have a good day if you want to.